In this video, we are going to talk about just in time. And disclaimer, very important disclaimer before we go forward. Actually, just in time is a part of methodology that relates to this whole topic, to this whole studies of lean. Lean means how to make manufacturing or service rendering in a way that you do just something that needs to be done and do not do something that is not needed. So you do not create any kind of waste, whether it's failed product or overspent time or waiting time or whatever. And this is actually a major of some of employees, some of specialists, and they spend enormous amount of time studying that. In this exam, we just touch it. So we do not study it in details. And this means that it is absolutely okay that you feel that you do not see the whole picture. You cannot possibly see the full picture because the picture is like that and we're touching like that. So it is okay. You need to just study whatever is in your syllabus. So your syllabus asks you to know about this overview of this methodology. So what is just in time with this JIT? Just in time means that we are going to work using demand pool system. What does demand pool system mean? It means that you are going to start working only when you know that you need to produce this item, or only when you know that you need to execute the service. So, for example, I am a specialist in all types of accounting, management accounting, financial, and so on. And I can start preparing for a training, let's say financial management for CFOs. But if I do that now, it means that I will spend my working time and I will need to be paid salary, and the salary will be basically paid to put this presentation that I'm preparing in stock and not use it for some time until someone orders a training from me. That may be not so good. Why? Well, because I could have spent this time on something that is more urgent, on something that is more pressing. And also the company will need to pay me money, and for them to pay money, they will need to find it somewhere. So probably take a loan or increase their loan. And this means that it's additional cost. And also there is a risk of this training to become obsolete. Well, for example, if for some reason some of this training will become outdated, well, maybe not with financial management, but with, let's say, IFRS accounting or with taxes, it can be. So companies do not want to do that. And they do not really want to produce goods just for stock, because if you produce something then you need a warehouse to store it. And with this warehouse, there is a risk of this product to be damaged because, let's say, because they will get pressed together or become obsolete because their expiration date will expire, or because the client will not need that anymore. Well, because nobody needs, let's say, a phone that was invented 3 years ago. Okay, so what is the answer? Well, the answer is to produce something only when it is required by customers. So just in time is a system which objective of which is to produce or buy products, product companies, only when they're required by customers, or only when these subcomponents are required for our production, for our use. So we are going to make product or service only when customer needs it. We will try to eliminate waste, and also, as we do not have time to make this do-overs, because customer cannot wait forever, they cannot wait us to try and do that 3 times before we do that right time. We need to improve quality. We need to commit to continuous improvement, because if we decide that we are not going to hold anything in stock and we are going to produce something that only when it is needed by customer, it means that essentially we lose a part of a market share that relates to those customers that just need that right now without any planning. Like with birthday cakes, you can order birthday cake from some cake maker and it will take them, let's say, 2 days to make it. And if you plan ahead, it's no problem for you. You just order because you're planning for this birthday party. But maybe there are some people who are not very good in planning and they just, oh, okay, it's my birthday, I need a cake, and they just need it right now. So they will not buy from this cake maker, and instead they will buy it from a store where it is already available, or from some bakery where it is already available. So this means that as we lose some of our clientele, this means that we need to improve our processes to improve our competitive advantages elsewhere, and also to make our production faster so that we can satisfy more customers. We will need to make sure that our suppliers are reliable, because if supply is not very punctual, then this means that we promised customer that the cake is going to be, let's say, delivered to them the day after tomorrow. But if supplier says, oh, I forgot to bring you X, I forgot to bring you that, and we have to reorder that and wait again for the delivery, we will not be able to satisfy our customer. We will get bad reputation for that. And also, if they provide us something with poor quality and we find it out only when this subcomponent is needed for us to finish the product, well, we will have problems as well. So suppliers need to be reliable. And just-in-time purchasing will require a low quantity of trusted suppliers. So we cannot make this good connections with thousands of suppliers. Instead, we will need to limit ourselves to maybe 2-3 major suppliers who are willing to work using our lead times, and we are going to work with them. So what do you need to use just-in-time production? We need to have high quality and reliability in terms of staff, machinery, and supplies. So, for example, it might be hard to do in flu season because people will not go to work. Or machinery can get broken down, and this means that we will not be able to produce. So we need to prevent that from happening. We need to maintain the machinery. You need to eliminate non-value added activities. Why? Because you just cannot afford yourself to spend this extra time. Because if you engage in demand pull system, this means that customer is waiting for you to make the product. And the faster you do that, the more customers you can satisfy. Because, I mean, there are not so many customers who want to wait, who are willing to wait. There are even less customers that are willing to wait for a day, even less than are willing to wait for 2 days, and so on. So yes, non-value added activities need to be eliminated. And I work with that because, well, as you probably know, I have experience of being CFO of manufacturing companies, and manufacturing companies do rely on this speed of production. And we went to different companies to see how the things are organized there. And there were terrific examples where, let's say, they would say, oh, okay, so before we needed 2 days to make that happen, and now we just need 2 hours to make that happen. Before it was 8 hours, now it is something like 15 minutes. And there are different methodologies, different techniques how to do that. You do not know that. You do not have to know that. Again, because here we just see this overview, and we're not just in time and a lean manufacturing specialist. So just know that it is possible. And of course, we need to increase speed of production. Not only increase actually, because we do not want to create stock at any stage of the process, it might as well be that we will need to decrease speed of some of the parts of production. It is always the case that we have a bottleneck. So imagine that your process requires you to cut some shape out of a metal sheet and then bend it and then paint it. And if, let's say, you can cut 2,000 pieces and you can bend only 1,000 pieces, let's say, a day, because this machinery is slower, and you can paint, let's say, 1,200 pieces, the problem is that your bottleneck is 1,000 items. And it is just no use for you to cut more parts, because they will just pile up in front of the next part of the production. This means that you would want to slow down the first process. So maybe you would want there to have shorter shifts, or maybe you want to use shorter, slower speed, so this machinery will not be as fast. You will think about that, you will come to the best solution, but it will be important to increase the speed of production on bottleneck and decrease on other parts of the production. Flexibility. Well, as you cannot produce in long batches, well, because you want to produce something that is needed, it is important that you're flexible. So, like originally, companies would want to produce something in big batches so that they save time on machinery reset up to change the matrices, the dials, the paint in the brush, and so on. But for us to work on demand, we need to produce an item of this, an item of that, an item of that. So we need to be flexible. Reliability in terms of quality and quantity that we can produce. So this is going to be connected to the quality of staff, machinery, and suppliers, but it is important to acknowledge that it is there. Now, what are the tools that are used in just in time? And I will give you, just for your information, the names, how they are called. You do not need to remember them for your test questions. So what you need to know that we need to decrease setup times so that we can reset the machinery from, let's say, producing pants to producing shorts in seconds. And there is a tool that is used in just in time. It is called single minute exchange of die. So this is a methodology how to make these changes faster. You do not need to know the name, just for your information, because it's a fun fact. This is something that there is. Kanban boards, there is an application, terrific application, which everyone uses called Trello. So Kanban boards shows you the processes that are about to happen, in process and finished, and it shows them for different stages of production or service execution. So this card, they kind of signal that work is needed. Again, you just need to have this basic understanding. In practice, well, you will need to spend 2 days on training how to use Kanban boards the best way. Production cells. Well, production cells means that we are going to organize production not by functional way. So let's say here we have lots of bending machines, and here we have a bunch of painting machines and so on. But you will organize the machinery in a group of like some logical way. So for example, if here we will put a machinery that is needed to make pants, and here we will put a machinery that is needed to make hats, because we want them to be close to decrease the traveling time, the time that this semi-finished good is needed to travel between your functions. Waste minimization. So when we talk about waste, we talk not only about the raw materials wastage, we talk about the time, the motion, the logistics, transportation, waiting time, and so on. Preventive maintenance, we do not want for the machinery to break down when it is needed. So we want to prevent that before that happens. Now, how about we look at this quiz and try to think which activities are non-value adding. And again, I would encourage you to try and pause the video, look at your workings, and try to solve that on your own, and then look at the answer here. So a sales manager receives an order from the customer and inputs it in the production system. That is something that does not add value. The client does not pay you for your ability to put something into the system. The company, the client pays you for this product to be produced, for this bending, painting, and so on. So this is non-value added activity, and it needs to be minimized. So maybe you would make you would invest in information systems, into software that is going to take their customer's order and automatically break it down to production order. A worker sets up the machinery to make a table according to the specification input by sales manager. The customer does not really want to pay for setups. They might as well, I would say, okay, why don't you have your machinery set up for my product? I do not really want to suffer because you need to reset it from, let's say, shorts to pants and vice versa. So we want to minimize this non-value added activities. We want to reduce it to zero. A worker makes a table according to the specification input by sales manager. A worker makes a table. Table is something that a customer needs, so this is value-adding activity. The table is inspected by a controller for quality. Is this a value-adding activity or not? And this is somewhere where students make mistakes quite often. They say that it adds value because customers want quality, but actually customers expect this product to be made the right way the first time. So imagine you go to a dentist and you go to your cavity to fix your teeth, and you're expected to pay, let's say, £100, and that is it. But then you come to a dentist, they fix your teeth, and then a supervisor comes and they check how everything was done, and they say that you need to pay not £1,000, but let's say £1,220. And you say, why? And they say, well, because we quality check. And you say, are you crazy? I came to a dentist. I expect that the dentist does the job right the first time. I do not want to pay for quality checks. I want my teeth to be fixed the right way the first time. So the customer will never be willing to pay this £20 over. The same with anything else. Customer does not really want to pay for quality checks. Customer wants to pay for the product to be done the right way the first time. So this is a non-value adding activity. Well, there can be some sort of exception when quality is perceived as a very important as additional benefit. So, for example, when we talk about cars, well, we want cars safe, and we want, let's say, many crash tests to be done. So maybe customers will be willing to pay for some extra crash tests that are made. Well, because they will perceive this crash test as additional benefit. But as for everything else, as for the checks of whether 4 bolts or 3 bolts were screwed, well, customer wants that, expects that to be done right the first time. Minor rework is needed to make the table fit customers' company standards. So we say, no, we want customer wants the table to be done according to their specifications right the first time. The table is stored to be delivered in a bunch of 100 items to save up on delivery costs. Okay, so the table is stored, so we need to pay for warehousing, we need to pay for additional finance costs, because this means that we produce the table before the customer is paying us. So we had to refinance this working capital gap. So that is something that is not needed by customer. Customer says, just give me the table. Why did you produce it first? Produces the hundreds in row and just ship it right away. So this is a non-value adding activity. The table is delivered to the customer. Oh yes, the customer wants a table, so it is likely to be a value adding activity. Now, what could be the problems of using just in time? The problems would be that it's hard to predict the demand, and this means that we may not have sufficient enough machinery or enough people, or we are not able to warn our suppliers that they will need to ship us the materials soon. There may be disruptions in supply chain, so supplier let us down, and we do not have enough raw materials to continue. Well, let's say with microchips, so companies would order microchips only when they needed them, and then COVID happened, and the factories that would produce these microchips stopped, and car manufacturers did not have microchips to continue. Just-in-time aims at maximizing throughput, and so we want to maximize we want to make this bottleneck stretch the bottleneck. We want to maximize the throughput, and that is great, but it may lead to additional investment in machinery, let's say, and it will not be paid back by the customer. So in total, it may as well be that the profits are going to decrease rather than to increase. And yeah, talking about throughput, this is something that you are supposed to remember from CIMA P1. And obviously, many of you do not. So please go and watch the next series of videos to make sure that you understand how to calculate that, because it has a great chance of being tested. And see you next.